With a single order, using the routing instruction SwissAtMid, you can access both order books in multiple ways. On the one hand, the central limit order book with pre-trade transparency, and on the other hand, the midpoint order book, SwissAtMid, which offers trading without pre-trade transparency. The Limit Plus order is a unique order that lets you place your resting orders in both order books simultaneously. This makes them fully visible in the central limit order book, but also fully available for execution in SwissAtMid. The enhanced version of our Limit Plus order, the Iceberg Plus order, allows you to take advantage of the deep pool of liquidity available in SwissAtMid. While the visible quantity of the Iceberg Plus order is shown in the central limit order book, the full order size is available for execution in SwissAtMid. Let's first look at the order book situation. The SwissAtMid execution price is the midpoint price of the central limit order book. In this case 100.5. The midpoint order book and the central limit order book are collocated in the same low latency on-book matcher. This simplifies synchronization between the two order books and ensures that no simultaneous processing can happen in both books, with minimal impact on complexity and latency. In this example, we look at a Limit Plus order. The participant places a limited buy order of 500 shares at 101. The order is placed simultaneously in both books, SwissAtMid and central limit order book. The stated limit applies to executions in the midpoint order book, and as a maximum limit, called global limit, for the central limit order book. In the central limit order book, the order is pegged to the best bid or ask price, the so-called best bid offer, BBO. In this example, the BBO is 100. The global limit is never breached in the central limit order book. We will discuss how pegging works in detail later in this animation. In this case, an execution of 300 shares takes place at the midpoint price of 100.5 in SwissAtMid. After the first partial execution of 300 shares, the volume in both books will be simultaneously reduced by 300 shares. Therefore, 200 shares are remaining for execution in both books. Now, let's have a look at an example of an Iceberg Plus order, which is a variation of the Limit Plus order. As mentioned, with the Iceberg Plus order, the full order size is available for execution in SwissAtMid. In this scenario, an execution of 300 shares takes place at the midpoint price of 100.5 in SwissAtMid. After the partial execution of 300 shares, the volume in both books will be simultaneously reduced by 300. Therefore, 700 shares are remaining for execution in both books. Now, let's have a closer look at pegging, also called dynamic price adjustment. For executions in the central limit order book, the exchange adjusts the price limit for orders with routing instruction, SwissAtMid, dynamically to the best bid or ask price. In this example, we look at the buy side. The current BBO is 100. In a next step, order ID 14 enters the central limit order book and becomes the new BBO. Order IDs 3, 5 and 13 are adjusted and get a new order ID. In this example, 3 becomes 15, 5 becomes 16 and 13 becomes 17. The price of the resting order ID 11 is not adjusted to the new BBO, because the BBO is better than the global limit price of 100 of order ID 11. It is important to know that the global limit of the Limit Plus and Iceberg Plus orders, as defined by the participant, is never breached. Please note that the price time priority in the central limit order book is lost in the event that the price of a limit plus or an Iceberg Plus order is dynamically adjusted to the BBO of the central limit order book. In case the participant deletes the order ID 14, being the current BBO, there will be a new BBO, namely order ID 6. The resting orders with IDs 15, 16 and 17 are again adjusted and get new order IDs 18, 19 and 20, whereas the order ID 11 is not adjusted, because the BBO is not better as this order's global limit. Plus orders allow users to place an order in the central limit order book and duly represent the full quantity of that order in SwissAtMid, the midpoint order book. The limit plus order is fully visible in the central limit order book, but also fully available for execution in SwissAtMid. The visible quantity of the Iceberg Plus order is shown in the central limit order book, while the full order size is available for execution in SwissAtMid at the midpoint price. Orders in the midpoint order book can be placed at the midpoint price or better, depending on the order limit price, whilst orders in the central limit order book are pegged to the best passive, resting, order on the same side of the book. The Iceberg Plus order is a variation of the limit plus order, where an Iceberg order is pegged to the best passive order on the same side of the central limit order book, and the full quantity of that Iceberg order is available for execution in the midpoint order book.